welcome back to the Career Savage YouTube channel. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for your support. And if you're not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so that you never miss a video. Today, I will be talking about big pharma versus small pharma. A lot of people have been asking me what the difference is, which company offers more benefits when you work for them in regulatory affairs, or just in general for clinical research. So stick around and watch the entire video. So first, I'm going to talk about big pharma and my experience in working for big pharma, and then I'll go in and talk about small pharma, and then I will do which one I prefer to work in for where I am in my career. So big pharma, we all know those big pharmaceutical companies that we hear about: Pfizer, Allergan, AbbVie, the companies that are Fortune 500, big biotech, Amgen. There are so many to list, but those are the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. Obviously, working for a big company does have its benefits. They might have more resources to pay you a higher salary. They may have more benefits. A lot of times they offer great 401k packages, great vacation packages, and great vacation time. For example, when you think about Facebook, a lot of people who work for Facebook or Google, they love working there because there's a gym on campus, there's free food, there's free everything. It's kind of similar in big pharma where they have seminars that you can attend, they work on your career development. They do a lot of different things that entice you to stay, and the reason they're able to do that is because they have the budget to do so. One thing that I'm not too crazy about with big pharma is if you're in a certain department. For example, one big pharma company that I worked for, I specialized in CMC, which is short for chemistry, manufacturing, and compounding. And essentially all you do is work on the actual structure of the drug. So there's two parts, there's drug substance and drug product. And drug substance is everything, all the excipients, excipients essentially just means all the different components of the drug product. The drug product is the final medicine that is going to the health authorities to get approved, or that's used in a clinical trial, whatever. It's really boring in my opinion, and once you enter in that specific niche in regulatory affairs, you're kind of stuck there. It's really hard to go from being a CMC classification to moving into clinical regulatory affairs because you've been concentrated in only understanding the manufacturing process for drug substance, drug product. How do we know that you'll be able to translate that into clinical regulatory affairs where they're working on protocols, they're working on IBs, which stands for investigator brochures, they're working on pharmacokinetic information, they're working on other non-clin information. So most of the times if you have too many years of CMC, people won't hire you for clinical, but that's besides the point. In big pharma, it's just you stay in your lane. There's no opportunity really to branch off and do different things. You go to work, you do what you're supposed to do every day, you're responsible for your different programs, and that's kind of it. Benefits of being in big pharma obviously is sometimes you get a higher pay. There are opportunities to branch out into different areas. It just takes longer, but I do like that the managers that you have or within working in big pharma, they do work on your career development a lot. So you can talk to your manager about it and curate a plan to gain the experience in a different department. Although sometimes they say, oh, you might have to do an internship, or you're still responsible for the 40 hours of work that you have, but you can add an extra 20 hours to your schedule, non-paid of course, to work in a different department to gain that experience. And even if you do that, it's not for sure that you're gonna be able to transition over. You might have to end up leaving that company to go and do what you actually wanna do if you wanna change your direction. So with big pharma, I think it's great if you're in a place in your career where you're doing other things in your life outside of your 9 to 5, because you don't have too much pressure or too many responsibilities. You're only responsible for what you were hired for. Now, moving on to small pharma. I love small pharma, and I think it's just because I'm only 5 years into my career, or maybe 4 years. 4 to 5 years in my career. So small pharma gives you the opportunity to venture out and do anything you want. When I worked for a small pharmaceutical company, I was hired obviously as a regulatory affairs personnel specialist, whatever. But going in, I was helping with commercialization. I ran a focus group with patients that were in the patient population we were targeting. I used to help with business operations. I used to help with interviewing people. I used to do obviously my regulatory affairs work. I used to talk to investigators. I used to help with the investigator brochures, the informed consent. I helped write a portion of a protocol. I used to review the protocols and make different changes. I used to help with marketing materials, anything you can possibly think of in the clinical research design phase, I did it. And it's because this specific company only had 2 regulatory people, myself and somebody else, a regulatory director, and then we all reported to the CAO, like the chief administrative officer of the entire organization, which is great because anything I wanted to do, any avenue I wanted to explore, they were like, go ahead, take the initiative, do what you want to do. I used to spend days organizing different things. I think at one point I helped write an SOP, which gave me experience in writing SOPs. It gave me experience in truly being a part of the clinical process. Now, I left the organization because I just felt like the lack of structure was really frustrating for me, and I wanted to talk about career development and have an actual plan. So that's the one downside to being in small pharma, is there's really not that much structure, and you have to go into chaos helping create that structure. Or they don't really have a regulatory affairs department or a clinical department or anything like that, and you're coming in to help them curate that. For someone who is early on in their career, it can be really stressful, but because I was so excited to be a part of the opportunity, it was great for the year and a half that I was there. But after I got my master's, I was thinking to myself, like, okay, what's my career development plan? And if you watch my other videos, I'll make sure to put it at the end of this video so you guys can see. If you watch my other videos, I made one talking about how I worked for this company, and nobody ever talked to me about a raise. Nobody ever talked to me about moving forward in my career. No one talked to me about anything. They were so busy trying to heal the company because it was so small and chaotic that they couldn't really focus on individuals. So that's the one downside to being in small pharma. Overall, I think it's really important to experience both worlds. If you're just starting out in your career or you want to start out regulatory affairs, I do not suggest you work in small pharma at all because it's going to be very challenging. If you don't understand the fundamentals of regulatory or clinical research, you're a new college graduate, you're doing a career transition from like engineering into pharmaceutical or whatever, I highly suggest that you start out in big pharma, because big pharma has the resources to do training. They have the resources to help you understand the fundamentals. That's how I was able to understand the fundamentals of regulatory affairs. For the smaller pharmaceutical company that I worked in, you learn as you go. And it's really hard to do that when you don't understand even what an abbreviation is, like IND, which stands for Investigational New Drug Application or whatever. So those are my tips on big pharma versus small pharma. If you have any questions, make sure you leave comments down below. I try to answer them as much as possible. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Until next time.